anti-submarine helicopter from China is spotted near Taiwan's east coast for the first time. One of the frontrunners for Taipei mayor is a former dentist and health minister. We look at what he's standing for. Why some people are being barred from voting in the upcoming local elections. Plus, police nab a smuggler hauling illegally logged trees worth $10,000 US. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Liao. We start off with defense news. Taiwan's military has reported spotting a Chinese anti-submarine helicopter near its eastern coast. One Ka-28 chopper was sighted breaching the eastern side of Taiwan's Air Defense Identification Zone, or ADIZ. This is the first time this type of aircraft has been seen around eastern Taiwan. The ADIZ is not Taiwan's airspace. Instead, it acts as a security buffer zone where incoming aircraft must identify themselves. But China often sends military aircraft into this area as a form of political pressure and to try to wear down Taiwan's defense forces. For more on the significance of the latest Chinese military aircraft spotted near Taiwan, our reporter Jaime Okan spoke to Ben Lewis, an independent defense analyst based in Washington, D.C.
What can you tell us about this Ka-28 helicopter that was spotted near Taiwan?
It's essentially an airborne anti-submarine platform that is used to support principal surface combatants wherever they may be operating to ensure that they're not taken by surprise by enemy submarines. And so what's notable about this, the positioning of this, is the fact that it was east of Taiwan in the Pacific Ocean. And if you look at the map put out by the M&D, it almost seems to appear out of thin air. What that indicates is that there was a Chinese Navy ship operating in that area that it took off from, did its sortie, and then landed back on. And I think it's very interesting. We haven't seen a helicopter in that area before. We've mostly seen them in the Northeast. And we haven't seen helicopters in the ADIZ since August.
Taiwan usually sees fighter planes in the ADIZ, but what about helicopters? Is this common?
So they're less common, definitely. In fact, in recent months, drones have been more common than helicopters in the ADIZ. As I mentioned, the last time we saw helicopters was in August, and we saw 3 kinds. But of all the helicopters, the Ka-28 is, we've seen it 11 or 12 times, in the ADIZ since the first time we saw it, which was February of this year. So I think it's definitely something to pay attention to. The fact that they have helicopters almost on this side of the island means that there was a naval group operating there. It could be one ship, it could be multiple. And helicopters are always something to pay attention to. They have limited range. They're generally more specialized. And so it's more unique, and it's definitely significant in my opinion.
Taiwan's holding local elections on Saturday, and all eyes are on the race for Taipei mayor. Not only will the winner run Taiwan's capital, some mayors have gone on to win the presidency. This year, one of the frontrunners is a former dentist and health minister. Louis Watt looks at his campaign.
The most high-profile candidate in Taipei's mayoral election is Chen Shih-chung, Taiwan's former health minister. He's standing for the ruling Democratic Progressive Party. The country's president has frequently been at his side on the campaign trail.
就是要陈时中，只有陈时中是我们最好的市长。有没有同意？有。
Chen says he wants to resolve traffic congestion in a tech hub district, build more social housing, and give new mothers more financial support. He's also talked about how he wants Taipei to keep pace with world-class cities.
台北是国家的首都，我们要更国际化，所以我要成立国际事务局，要培养具有国际专业的年轻人才。
But his campaign has suffered some awkward turns. One campaign video promising to install electric bidets in all of Taipei's public restrooms got panned for seemingly promoting voyeurism.
我当市长。
Chen has never run for government office before, but the pandemic pushed him into the spotlight. As health minister, he was a familiar and reassuring face on the nation's TV screens, and his popularity soared. But his COVID record may now prove to be his Achilles heel.
再见了，谢谢。
He stepped down as health minister to run for mayor in July, at a time when Taiwan was still dealing with a serious COVID wave. Observers say it's one of his challenges as he seeks votes in Taipei, which traditionally doesn't vote for the DPP but the opposition, known as the Pan-Blue Camp.
His reputation is directly tied to perceptions of how Taiwan's performance during COVID-19 was. There are people that view Taiwan as having done very badly, for example, particularly among the Pan-Blue camp. That would be the view that, for example, vaccine purchases were not transparent, or that Taiwan purchased more in terms of price than other countries, or that Taiwan did not do anything and was very late in purchasing vaccines.
Another issue is that Chen's policies aren't so different from those of his main opponents. Jiang Wan-an of the KMT, and Vivian Huang, an independent and former Taipei deputy mayor.
They actually often agree on what are the same issues facing each locality they're running. For example, a growing elderly population, or that young people don't have enough housing, or they can't afford housing, or transportation, for example. And so I feel it's almost much more about party ID, just which party which candidate belongs to.
If Chen does appeal to enough voters across party lines, a win for the DPP in Taipei would be huge. The party hasn't had a Taipei mayor for 24 years. And a victory for Chen would boost the ruling party ahead of presidential and legislative elections in a little over a year's time. Klein Wong and Louise Watt for TaiwanPlus.
And we'll have the final part in our series looking at the top 3 candidates for Taipei mayor tomorrow. Taiwan's health ministry is taking heat from rights organizations for not allowing people with COVID-19 to vote in the upcoming local elections. Amnesty International says this could prevent around 300,000 people from casting their ballots. Bing Wong has more.
The start of the COVID-19 pandemic in early 2020 turned life in many parts of the world upside down. It's left democracies faced with the hard task of holding elections at a time where gatherings were discouraged. The U.S. took extra precautions during its presidential election in 2020. That election broke the record for most votes by mail. Out of 160 million eligible voters, 65 million mailed in the ballots. Taiwan law does not allow mail-in ballots. You have to vote in person. But Taiwan's health ministry says that people with COVID-19 won't be able to vote at all.
如果还在5天的居家照护期间，那请民众遵循这个传染病防治法，依照规定是不得外出。
If they break quarantine, they could face a fine of up to $62,000 US. This rule was in place the last time Taiwan's voters went to the polls in 2021. But at that time, there were only a handful of COVID cases every day. Now, 11 months later, Taiwan is seeing around 20,000 cases daily. Amnesty International has called foul on barring people with COVID from voting.
It certainly violates the International Convention of Civil and Political Rights, and also the rights of people to participate in public affairs.
Taiwan adopted that convention in 2009. The health ministry says the reason to keep people in quarantine is simple.
我们还是请民众遵守这个相关的法律规定。那主要的目的是保护自己，也保护他人的这个健康和权利。
Rights groups recommended the solutions used in neighboring countries.
Like in Japan, the senatorial election in July this year, they revised their bill and allowed the postal ballot for COVID quarantined people and set up a dedicated polling station for them.
And South Korea had special voting hours for those who tested positive.
During the extended 1.5 hour, the quarantined people who get COVID could able to go to a polling station to vote.
The head of Taiwan's Pandemic Response Task Force, Wang Bisen, says the government is considering ways to allow people with COVID to vote. But with the vote just days away, time is running out for a solution. Alex Chen and Bing Wong for TaiwanPlus.
To find out more about pandemic politics, Bing Wang spoke with Taiwan elections expert Wei Ting-yen.
What influence has COVID-19 played in the local elections this year?
So I would say that in most of the local elections, in most of the cities, COVID is actually not a major issue in policy debates. On the other hand, what we're seeing is most of the local elections, the policy debates are going back to what we usually discuss in local elections, such as housing policy, childcare, elderly care. I don't think there is a lot of change. I do not see any major changes in the way in which how people campaign. We still saw Chen Shih-chung had a big gathering, like parade last weekend, and we see candidates that are going to have major rally events this coming Friday as well. And so I don't really see there is a huge major changes from how campaign was run pre-pandemic.
Have the other Taipei City candidates used the pandemic to attack Chen Shih-chung?
I think in this Taipei's mayoral election, we mainly see that the other two candidates try to attack Chen Shih-chung for his handling of COVID-19. But particularly, I think their attack mostly is on vaccine purchase and the domestic production of metagen vaccine. Vaccine also is one of probably the only one issue in the past 3 years that truly has been politicized.
A candidate in Taiwan's upcoming local elections is being investigated for buying votes with meat taken from a protected species. The politician from Taichung allegedly attempted to buy votes with gifts including meat from the Formosan serow, a protected goat-like animal endemic to Taiwan. She's charged with violating both animal protection and election laws. More than 3,300 voting allegations have been investigated across the country ahead of Saturday's elections. Police have busted an attempt to smuggle $10,000 worth of illegally logged wood from a remote forest in Taiwan's northwest. The trees belong to a rare species protected by law. As John Van Trieste reports, one suspect is in custody, but a second has fled into the surrounding mountains.
A police chase deep in Taiwan's mountains. There are rare and valuable trees here, and the truck's driver won't stop to let a police patrol check for smuggled wood. An officer filming the chase captures what happens next. The truck gets stuck halfway in a mountain stream. Police have to tow it out. One man in the truck is detained, but a second escapes. In the back, under a tarp, police find 3 tree trunks. This is Taiwan incense cedar, prized for its fragrance and hardness. It's an endangered tree and has the highest level of protection under Taiwanese law. Together, the trunks weigh over 2,200 kilograms. Each of the trees was over a century old.
嫌犯不从后加速逃逸，仍遭警方查获，价值约31万余元。警方并查扣该5台车辆等犯案工具。
The arrested suspect faces prison and a fine that could exceed $600,000. As police hunt for his accomplice, they are also working to uncover who the loggers plan to sell the tree trunks to. Forestry officials say they are stepping up efforts to tackle illegal logging.
森林护管员平日会进行林班巡视，会随时注意林班内可疑的人车，并于盗伐的高风险地区不定时的联合森林警察进行联合巡视跟深山特遣的工作。
But there are still those willing to risk getting caught. A 2020 Forestry Bureau report shows several dozen people are convicted of illegal logging each year, meaning there's no end in sight to the battle to protect the endangered trees of Taiwan's mountain forests. Andy Xue and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up, Taiwan sends off a well-known tourist train to the UK. Stay tuned.
Taiwan is an island rich in natural resources, from the mountains and flatlands to its surrounding sea. Follow our steps so you can sniff the fresh seawater and get a glimpse of their vitality. With 6 generations of fisherman wisdom, there's no way it can go wrong when you throw freshly caught seafood onto the stove. Their signature dish is the squid rice vermicelli. Back in the days when he went fishing with his father, they would bring rice vermicelli because it's dry, so you can store it for a long time. And they would just add whatever's in the catch today and boil them. So that's like a very 澎湃的，对不对？澎湃。 Memories of that distinguishable sea flavor as the base, boiled with that hard-earned catch from Mr. Lin's father and brother. It's just way too much for a single person to harvest all that. I then come to realize, Muzhengyuan does more than just provide food for the table. Doesn't it look like we're at a farmer's market? This is like the first time ever eating this precious bamboo. The more I chew on it, I feel like it's very fruity. Uncle Cao used to work in the tech sector. Even after a long day's work, he still carried a torch and checked on the crops every night. These farmlands are the birthplaces of Muzhengyuan's exquisite flavors. They utilized the fertile harvest from Zuzihu to build and support a roof over their heads.
我堂姐的花园。我以前是开花店当花艺师。现在回来当花农，可以做自己喜欢的事。
We bow down and pay respect to the land. Now it's time we harvest.
Secret Kitchen. Tuesday, 8 p.m., Sunday, 5:30 p.m. on TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan heads to the polls. One of the most vibrant democracies in Asia is making decisions that will affect the future.
We have reporters on the ground getting to know the candidates,
covering Taiwanese election culture to catch the true pulse of Taiwan.
Join us on November 26th
for live results, in-depth analysis,
and all the election stories that matter. Decision 2022, only on TaiwanPlus.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. Taiwanese electronics manufacturer Foxconn on Thursday apologized for a technical error in hiring new recruits. It follows violent protests at its massive iPhone plant in central China this week. As Rick Liao reports, the rare displays of public dissent have been raising questions in China and beyond.
Chinese riot police in protective suits giving chase in Henan province at the world's largest iPhone factory. This footage shot by an employee. It's the second time in less than a month that unrest has rocked the massive complex owned by Foxconn, a Taiwanese tech giant with a history of labour violations. Foxconn usually employs 200,000 people at this plant in central China. But recent COVID outbreaks, fears of lockdowns, and reports of food and medical shortages have led workers to flee.
The factory and also the government wants to lure the workers back by bonus policy. And when workers went back to the factory, there is another wave of COVID outbreak. And also there is rumor that the factory will not pay the promised bonus to them. So the two problems combined and escalated into a bigger problem for the Foxconn company. So that is why we saw riots and protests in the factory these days.
Foxconn has apologized for what it called a technical error in the hiring process and says the company is negotiating to meet workers' demands. The scenes at the plant are a rare public display of dissent in China and also a sign that frustration with the country's COVID-0 policy is boiling over. But there's no sign of a let-up, with virus numbers in China reaching an all-time high. To quell infections, local authorities are empowered to act quickly, enforcing sudden and long-lasting lockdowns, often at the expense of workers and communities.
所以在这种情况下，是不是也可以适当的调整新的防控手段、防控机制？这个是值得探讨的，值得上面的领导啊，包括各行各业吧，希望大家都能来探讨这事儿，争取制定更适合现在疫情的防疫方针，尤其经济是吧，百废待兴的状态。
The pressure put on the Chinese economy by COVID-0 is raising global supply chain concerns. Foxconn, maker of 70% of all iPhones, will now struggle to meet demand for the holiday season. But the rare scenes of dissent in the Henan factory have raised bigger questions over whether the cost of production too often comes at the expense of workers' welfare. Damon Lin and Rick Lowett for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's Council of Agriculture is developing creative new fruit products to help struggling farmers. Beijing has introduced bans on a variety of Taiwanese food products, including citrus fruits and pineapples. As China was the largest market for many of these items, it's left many farmers with mountains of unsold produce. Now, Taiwan's government has teamed up with local universities to try and help make up the difference. The new products they're making include fruit juices, teas, and even jams.
去年跟今年受到禁止，我们到输出到中国的这些水果，包括凤梨、凤梨世家，还有柑橘类。这个计划里面啊，所用的4种水果研发出来的这些商品，包括食用的或者是使用的，总共有50项。
Taipei is looking to phase out plastic cups at drink shops starting next month. Earlier today, I took a look at how these businesses are getting ready for the new policy change. Anything from smoothies to bubble tea, Taiwanese people love their handshake and drinks. And part of the allure is the visual factor. These beverages do look beautiful in the cups they come in. But Taipei city government is about to implement a ban on plastic cups like these, which is soon to take effect. Come December, drink shops will have to use more environmentally friendly paper cups. With 1 week left, beverage stores are rushing to comply with the new rule. Most of the big chains say that they're ready for the change, but this can come at a price. According to some businesses, paper cups cost 70% more than plastic ones. Not only that, but some stores are struggling to use up their current supply of plastic cups before the time is up. For bigger drink chains, this isn't such a problem. They can just send unused cups to their other stores outside of Taipei. But independent drink shops don't have this advantage. They'll have to dispose of their excess plastic cups outright. Another issue is marketing and the business's online presence. Drink shops spend a lot of effort making their products look good. This way, customers will want to upload pictures of their beverages to social media, effectively giving the stores free online exposure. But opaque paper cups quite literally get in the way of that. Under the new rule, drink store owners will have to find new ways to visually market their products.
现在只能把视觉性这种感觉做在新的纸杯设计上，让纸杯走得比较时尚，让消费者想要打卡。
Some customers are a bit more divided on the issue.
有建设性的饮料派起来，塑胶杯还是会比较好看。价格会转移到消费者身上的话，以后再买的时候会先考虑一下。
我觉得还是环保为重啊。
At the end of the day, consumers can choose whether they want to purchase drinks. But beverage store owners, they have to comply with the new rules. But neither side seems too bothered about it right now. After all, between pretty drinks and planet Earth, you gotta go with planet Earth, right? Howard Zhang and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus. Taipei is getting ready to expand an artificial intelligence system that's designed to combat traffic violations. The system will be installed next month at some of the city's worst traffic hotspots. This includes the Taipei Bridge off-ramp, known for the huge numbers of scooters that use it during rush hour. The AI will track offenses like illegal turns, running red lights, and not yielding to pedestrians.
那些就是一招式路口，那因为一些违规，所以造成一些事故的发生，所以因为警力有限，所以就是使用那个科技执法来做全天候的那个取缔这样。
Taiwan has agreed to lend the UK a locomotive from the tourist hotspot of Alishan. Jeremy Olivier has this story.
Next stop, Britain. The Alishan Forest Railway's DL34, one of Taiwan's most distinctive tourist trains, will be pulling out of the station soon, on its way to the UK. The train is being loaned to Wales in the UK's far west for use on its Welshpool Landfair Light Railway. It is expected to arrive there in early 2023. Marking the occasion, Welshpool Landfair Secretary Michael Riley appeared with Forestry Bureau head Lin Huaqing atop the train's engine in southern Taiwan's Jiayi. Lin is optimistic the train will make an impact abroad.
可以把阿里山林铁的这个机关车商借到地方，在那边 动态的行驶，这样可以让更多的英国人民认识或知道台湾的阿里山名片，进一步的愿意到台湾来观光。
The Alishan Forest Railway is the highest narrow gauge line in Asia. Its DL34 diesel locomotive was bought from Japan in 1972. As the train is prepared to be shipped off, Taiwan and the UK can look forward to seeing the results of this unique display of transportation diplomacy. Klein Wang and Jeremy Olivier for TaiwanPlus.
Now over to the World Cup in Qatar, where Japan completed an epic 2-1 comeback to upset four-time world champions Germany. Japan found themselves 1-0 down after a penalty for Germany in the 33rd minute. But the Samurai Blue turned the game around in the second half with two substitutions. Replacement midfielder Ritsu Doan slotted home the equalizer in the 75th minute before fellow sub Takuma Asano struck the winner from a tight angle. Japan's goalkeeper made 8 saves to help secure the victory for his team. Thank you for watching Taiwan Plus News. Remember to download the Taiwan Plus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we leave you with images of volunteers preparing Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade balloons in New York City. I sure do hope Snoopy's in there. I'm Liao. Take care and see you next time.